Hi, this is Amy Kolb from EFR. I am currently a sixth grade math teacher, and I'm here today to talk to you about bar modeling. We do a lot of bar modeling in sixth grade math, and some parents have asked, what is bar modeling and why do we do it? So, to help answer that question, let me start by asking you a question. When you think about your own experiences in school with problem solving, what comes to mind? What was that like for you as a student? Was it frustrating? Did it produce anxiety? Was it sometimes unsuccessful for you? If so, that's a very common thing for students. And bar modeling helps students get past that in anxiety and frustration and failure. Research by a woman named Ann Newman suggests that as many as 50% of errors in problem solving actually occur before the students even start trying to solve a problem because they don't understand what the problem is asking them to do. Conceptually, they don't have a good idea of what the problem looks like. And bar modeling helps us to do a better job with that. I think it would be helpful if we look at the past approach. In the past, when students were solving story problems, we as teachers told them to look for key words, important words in the problem. For example, in this one, look for the important or key words. There are 7 boys and 21 girls in a class. How many more girls than boys are in the class? So maybe you noticed the word more in here. More, usually we associate that with adding. If I ate 2 Hershey Kisses and I wanted more, I would add some more Hershey Kisses, right? We would add to solve that. But this is actually not an addition problem. I think if you take a look at the picture of the bar model, you might better be able to understand why. The picture is showing this first bar here, boys, as having 7 in the class. And then the longer bar down here at the bottom is showing 21 girls. The question mark represents what we are trying to find. We're trying to find the length of this extra space right here between the 7 and the 21. And so that would be 14 because 7 plus 14 would make 21. So to get the 14, you actually have to subtract 21 and 7. So this is actually a subtraction problem despite having the word more in it. Here's another example of what I'm talking about. There are 21 girls in a class. There are 3 times as many girls as boys in the class. How many boys are in the class? So again, as teachers, we've always told students, look for the key words. And so in this one, we would direct them to this part here that says 3 times as many. And so students would think they're supposed to multiply because times means multiply, right? Well, actually, if you draw a picture of this one, I think you'll see that this is actually not a multiplication problem. If there are 3 times as many girls, I would need to draw 3 boxes to represent the girls for every 1 box to represent boys. So if these 3 pieces represent 21, then 1 piece is actually a third of that, or 21 divided by 3, which is 7. So there are only 7 boys. You wouldn't multiply on this one. So I hope that those examples just give you a sense of why we do that bar modeling. Um, there are several advantages of using the bar modeling. Number one is that it provides students with a consistent use of the same picture. So they're not always trying to come up with something new. There are basically about 4 different types of bar models. And so once they learn the 4 basic types, they just have to figure out which type they're working with. I think it helps students better understand how and why things work. I hope in those last 2 examples I just showed you it was easy to see why they were subtraction and division problems. We also believe that these visual models will lead to a better understanding of algebra. A lot of times students hit algebra as freshman in the high school and it's like running into a brick wall. Things get really, really hard there because you have to use so many abstract thinking skills, and they're not ready for that. But we hope that bar modeling will change that. It will give students the ability to process the abstract better. It also allows students to solve more rigorous problems, problems that they might not have been able to do without using complicated algebra. With a bar model, they have to only know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. If they can do those four basic operations, they can solve problems that normally an Algebra 1 student would be trying to solve at a very young age, third, fourth grade even. Although bar modeling can be frustrating for students at first when it's new, anything new is and different can be frustrating. That's normal. But we expect that that frustration will decline as students become more comfortable with the process. So I encourage you parents, if it's hard for your child, encourage them to stick it out. I think in the end that they will find it to be very helpful. I think it will also greatly improve their number sense, their ability to estimate, their ability to determine if an answer sounds reasonable. And so those are important skills in mathematics as well. I know that this is new and can be uh, very challenging to understand coming into something brand new. And so I'd like to offer you some resources that might be helpful. The first one is a great website called thinkingblocks.com. Thinkingblocks.com. Here's a look at the thinkingblocks.com website. And you stay away from these things up here at the top, but these are different skills that we work on. And so you might like, depending on what chapter we're in, fractions or perhaps ratios. Addition and multiplication might be for younger students. If you have any elementary students, you might find that helpful. So the neat thing about this website is that students will be able to build the problems and solve them, and they have to do the problem correctly before they can move on. So for example, in this one, it gives us all the pieces to a problem. We drag the parts to the correct spot, and then we check. And if we're right, we get to move on to the next problem. And so I'm just kind of plugging some things in here so you can see how it works. I hit check. If I made an error, it will tell me down at the bottom what I did incorrectly. If I did the part correctly, it will move on to the next step. So this is a great way to step by step have your child practice bar modeling. So I got the little thing there. That means I have it set up correctly. And so now we can put in the numbers. Where does the question mark go? Where does the total go? And students can self-check their work. So I think this is a great way to practice. Let's take a look at another resource. If you haven't seen your child's Edmodo site yet, I would encourage you to check that out. Edmodo is a place for students to connect with one another and with the teacher. And what I've been doing with Edmodo is putting in some video tutorials explaining actual homework questions or examples from class. So I like Edmodo because it's very specific to what we've been doing in the classroom. So here's a look at the Edmodo page. When you open it up, there'll be different comments. Maybe students have asked about homework, or I might have posted a link to something we'd been working on in class. Here's an example of me with a link for some homework questions. So all students have to do is click on the link, and it will take them to a video that explains how to do the problem. Another useful resource is youtube.com, and the students always laugh when I tell them that. You can do more than just watch funny, silly videos on YouTube. There are lots of educational things. So I would recommend you go to youtube.com and in the search bar type in bar modeling and then whatever content it is you're looking for. So I just went to YouTube and I typed in bar modeling and percents. We'll be working on that chapter this winter. And you can see here that I came up with several different hits, and you could take a look at some of those. This Math 6A, that would correspond nicely to our sixth grade book. And there's some other things here too. So YouTube is a great resource as well. And then the last resource I wanted to mention is a series of articles called The Daily Riff by Bill Jackson. And if you just Google that, I think you'll be able to find it. He wrote several articles about Singapore math and experiences in his school, and it was a reference for this presentation as well. So I hope that helps you understand why we do bar modeling, and I would like to follow this up with some more training on specific examples of bar modeling. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed the video.